Hello, MEANDI here. Today I want to break down everything that I've learned doing this church set design assignment on ArtWad. I will try to pack everything into 5 juicy tips, okay? Let's begin. This kind of set design thinking actually can be used for many things, not just video games. It can be used for movies, TV show sets, also for illustrations, for animation, many things. Here are the resources that I've used to learn this stuff. So first I used ArtWad Classroom by Gabriel. Production set design. Also, a lot of good things are covered on the prop design course by Gabriel on ArtWad. And also FZD Design School, amazing YouTube channel. There are so many videos. So if you want to go more in depth, feel free to check them out, okay? All right, so tip number 1. Before drawing, write and inform yourself. First of all, try to answer these questions. What, when, where, why, and who. It's gonna help you to figure out what is the whole story of the whole thing that you're drawing, which debatably is probably the most important thing of a concept art piece or any art piece generally. There's gonna be intent behind everything. Try to read up on a subject, try to watch informative videos about it, maybe National Geographic, maybe YouTube videos about it. Alright, so let me break it down what I did in this stage. So basically I didn't just try to design a simple Gothic church. I came up with a theme, a werewolf theme, and a more darker theme. I thought about the person who is living there. Thing that came into my mind, what if I do a priest? There's a church, so there's gonna be a priest in there probably. But that priest is not just a simple priest, it's a werewolf priest. That werewolf priest is trying to trap people and kill them when the full moon hits. I know it's quite nerdy, okay? Just give me a break here. Basically, instead of just drawing a church, I decided to think about who is living in the church. Therefore, question who. I tried to understand what is the main function of this church. This church is not just a place of worship. It's alluring, a decoy church. So when I came up with this idea, I tried to understand everything about werewolves. What do they do? What type of beasts they are? What their weak points, like wolf's bane or whatever. I tried to inform myself about it and I wrote everything down. Tip number 2, reference gathering. So whenever reference gathering for this kind of thing, try to actually categorize the reference and put it into different, not folders, but like kind of groups, So for example, in my case, I had functional group of references, I had style references, I had the mood and lighting references, and I had the presentation reference. Most important references in my opinion are real world functional references, because that helps you understand how things actually work. These kind of references will actually lead to a more grounded and believable design. This will make you understand things on a more fundamental level, and this will actually show in your work. Now, I would also actually want to talk about what to usually avoid, and this might be a little controversial, but I don't care. Try to avoid other people's concept work basically on the same subject. Because whenever you try to do that, first of all, your design will just be an amalgamation of another similar design, which will lead to a more generic design. And also, you don't really know what kind of decision making that person who made that artwork did. So that can lead to some confusion. These references can still be used for style, for inspiration, but as far as function goes, try to avoid them probably. Tip number 3, pick the right subject for the right experience level. All right, so let me break it down to you what makes the difficulty level go down or go high. Again, it actually goes to real life references, because whenever you have real life references, it's way more easy for you to understand the function of things, and the function will lead to more proper and believable design. So for example, medieval stuff is easier, ancient culture stuff is easier, because you have a lot of knowledge, real grounded base knowledge that you can actually look up. It will help you so much. You will actually be able to just look up a reference and use it in your picture instead of trying to redesign a whole new thing. So for example, what is hard? Probably sci-fi, cyberpunk stuff, because there's very little actual real life reference in this kind of genre, So try to evaluate what is your experience level and what are you capable of, so you don't end up in a situation that is way too difficult. I personally am gonna try to do the cyberpunk thing next, and it's for my personal project, actually for the music project. You'll see, I'll do concept art for it, but I understand that this is gonna be very, very difficult to create because, like cyberpunk, there's no cyberpunk in real world. Of course, there are movies and shows, but these are interpretations of other artists, which can also obviously be used as inspiration, but it's very hard to come up with a non-generic version then. It's very easy to come up with a very generic cyberpunk character design, for example. And also, I don't want to say that you shouldn't do sci-fi or cyberpunk. Personally, I am gonna do that. That's my favorite genre. It's gonna be very difficult. Pick those things, but just know that it's gonna be harder. Tip number 4, design with function in mind. All right, so let me explain. Whenever you design with function in mind, you basically just design by logic. One thing leads to another thing, then other thing leads to another thing. And you can just fill the whole page up just based on one thing, okay? Let me try to explain. All right, so for example, in my case, I added some blood on the roof. Why I added the blood? Because the werewolf kills people at night. So if he's trying to cover up the blood, he's gonna try to clean it. This means I need a bucket, I need water, and I need some soap. Here you go. I just added 3 items that I probably wouldn't add if I didn't design by function. Then I need to basically show how the priest gets up on the roof. That's why I drew the ladder. What I'm trying to say, one thing leads to another. Also, as far as like this set design goes, if somebody lives there, think about life support and human factors. This is actually heavily covered in the set design video that Feng Zhu did. So in this case, I actually added a little tomato farm for priest to actually have some food. I also added the well for the water, and I added the wood pile thing where he can chop his own wood, because for survival you need wood. You play survival games, right? Now I actually added a signpost, a wooden signpost that says no weapons are allowed, especially the silver ones. That also hints that there's a werewolf living there, because you can kill a werewolf with a silver weapon, and it would make sense that no weapons are allowed in the church, right? So these things kind of join up and help each other out, you know. And tip number 5, 3-point perspective is probably the most useful perspective for this kind of work. Why? It's because it's the most informative angle. When you use a 3-point perspective, if you actually put the camera up, you will be able to add more information into a shot compared if you use a 2-point perspective or 1-point perspective. It doesn't have to be super extreme. It doesn't have to be extremely converging into the third vanishing point, but it really helps if you use this kind of 3-point perspective to just showcase more stuff. Because the more stuff you can add, well, it doesn't work for everything, but in this case it works. The more stuff you can add back into one image, the more grounded and more believable and more informational set design will be. But otherwise, less is usually more. And I know it's usually harder to draw in 3-point perspective, so I used the grid. The initial 3D mockup was actually provided by Gabriel, so I didn't design this with Blender myself. It actually was provided by Artpod by Gabriel. So for example, in Procreate, you can actually set up the points of the perspective. You can then actually do the assisted drawing thing, where you draw everything based on the grid. Of course, it makes your design a little bit more robotic. I try to avoid that when you don't have to use it, but in this case, it was really useful. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching. If you actually like these type of videos, please like the video, obviously, and subscribe to the channel. Also, ring the bell or whatever. And if you actually want to learn more in-depth stuff on this kind of subject, check out the prop design course by Gabriel on Artwad. Check out his classroom also on the production set design, and definitely check out the FZD school on design. There's a lot of gold information that I haven't seen anywhere else. And also, if you don't know me, I am actually a musician, a rapper, and if you want to, you can check out my music. I think my music is better than my art, at least level-wise, skill-wise, so check it out. I will actually release more music this year, so I'm very excited, and I'm gonna try to incorporate art with music and combine them together. You will see what I mean. Probably it's very obscure right now, but you will see what I mean. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.